Alright guys, we're going to be taking a look at React Native again today, specifically QR codes and how to integrate them into your application. Both generating the QR code and how to scan it. It's really simple. So what I've done is I've set up just a basic project here with two screens. And what I'm going to do is make one screen the QR code and one screen the scanning screen. If you're using Expo on your mobile phone, this is going to be really easy for you. But if you're using something like Android Simulator, I'll show you how to get that QR code into your camera on the simulator itself. Okay guys, let's get into it. Since my project is Expo based inside of my terminal, I'm going to be using Expo install to install two extra packages. I'm going to be using Expo install React Native QR Code SVG and Expo Barcode Scanner. Both of these packages I'm going to be installing through Expo to ensure compatibility with my Expo based project. Everything else that you see installed in the package JSON is just what I have in my setup. You can use these QR codes and scanning pages in any sort of app that you like. This is just to show you how they work. Next, I'm going to go over to my qrcode.tsx in my screens folder, and this is where I'm going to have my QR code generated to the screen. So at the top, I'm going to add an import, and I'm going to import QR code from React Native QR Code SVG. You can see it autofills for me here in Visual Studio Code, but if you have to type it out, this is what it looks like. Next, I'm going to go inside of my function component. I'm going to add a props definition. I'm going to grab the navigation out of it. Next, I'm going to define a payload, and this is what's going to be served to whoever scans this QR code. Now, usually this is a string, but since you're putting this as in an app, maybe you want it to do something like add a friend or pass some information along. You can actually do cool things like sneak JSON into it when you stringify it, so it pretends that it's a string, but it's really a JSON format that you want to parse. So what I want to do is I want to give this a little object of information, maybe have some keys and values in it. So I'm going to go to my library folder here. I'm just going to create a new props file called iqrcodeprops.ts. And inside of it, I'm going to export an interface that has two properties on it, a name and a number, both string. So my plan is when I scan this, my app will recognize that it's actually JSON, and it's going to parse that information and return that information to the screen for me. Now I'm going to go back to my QR code page, and I'm going to actually define this payload as the iqrcodeprops. You can do the same and go ahead and define this object with your own name and number, whatever you want to put in here for this example. Now I'm going to go down to my view in my return statement here, and I'm going to add my QR code JSX, and inside of it I'm going to have a value, and inside of that value, instead of having a string, I'm going to fake a string by using json.stringified, and I'm going to pass in my payload. So now this JSON object gets translated into a string that we're going to end up scanning with our QR code scanner. I'm also going to throw down a button here with a title that says Go to Scanner. And when you press it, I'm going to call my navigation prop, call the navigation function, and set me over to the scan page that I've already set up in my project. Down inside the styles container here, I'm going to add a button with a margin of 10 at the top to separate my button from the QR code. The QR code page itself is really simple. You're just inserting that QR code object and everything is pretty much taken care of for you. There are more options you can pass into the QR code. I'm pretty sure you can insert an image in the middle of it. You can customize it many different ways. I'm just going to put it in the page normally like this so you can see how it works. Now, if we move over to the scanning page, there's a little bit extra work we have to do on this page. We have to actually ask the camera for permission to use it inside of the app. And then once we do have the permission, then we can go ahead and start scanning with our camera. I'm going to go ahead and import my barcode scanner from Expo Barcode Scanner and my iqrcodeprops, as you see me do at the top here. Now we're going to need 3 state variables to assist us in this. I'm going to have a const loading variable that's going to be a bool, and we're going to have a default value of true. I'm going to have a scan data variable, and this is going to be of a type iqrcodeprops, and I'm going to leave the default value empty so it's automatically undefined. And lastly, I'm going to have a permission state variable, and this is also going to be a bool, also set to true initially. Next, I'm going to create a function called request camera permission. It's going to be async. Inside of it, I'm going to have a try catch block. First, I'm going to have a const and then status and granted together is equal to await barcode scanner.request permission async. This is going to get the permission for the camera. Next, I'm going to go ahead and log what the status and the granted is. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it. Next, you can check to see if the status is equal to granted. Go ahead and set your permission to true. You can also log this here if you would like I'm doing. Else, set the permission to false. Inside of the error block, go ahead and log the error and set your permission to false here. And then in a finally block, you can go ahead and set the loading to false so that we can actually view the page depending on what has happened with our permissions. Next, after your state variables, go ahead and put a use effect in here with an empty dependency array and call the request camera permission. We do this so that we request the camera permission right when the page loads. After this function, go ahead and check to see if we're loading. If we are, what we're going to do is we're going to return a view, and I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the view from below. Inside of it, we're going to add some text that says we're requesting permission. I'm going to import text here from the React Native. I'm just going to put it in after my style sheet because the default text is not the one from here. Next, I'm going to check to see if we have some scan data. So if we do have some data, I'm just going to return a view with that data. So I'm going to make a view similar to the one I did inside the loading. And I'm going to insert some text here that displays the name and number by accessing them by going with scandata.name or scandata.number. You can set this up and style this any way you like. After my text, I'm going to go ahead and insert a button with a title that says scan again. And all this is going to do is on its on press, set the scan data to undefined. So if it's undefined, we get past this block and it's going to actually return our scanner for us. So now we're going to check to see if we have permission. If we do, I'm going to return the barcode scanner that I imported before. I'm going to pass in a style array. I'm going to put the styles.container. I'm going to have an onBarcodeScanned function. It's going to pass in our type and data as props as one object. Inside of it, I'm going to have a try-catch block. I'm going to log the type and the data. And then I'm going to let the data be equal to JSON parse the data. So the reason I have a try-catch here is if it isn't JSON, this is going to catch the error and it's going to spit it out for a log for you. Inside of the barcode scanner, you can have some text that says scan the QR code. This is going to show up on the screen when you actually have your camera open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert some styles inside of my styles down below that has a background color of black and a text color of white. And I'm going to apply this to my text here so that I can actually see it when I'm running the camera. And if you don't have permissions, what's going to do is it's just going to show up in that empty container down below. You can go ahead and just put something like permission rejected if you want, but I'm just going to leave that blank for now. Now I'm going to run an expo start --Android because I want to run this on my Android simulator. I can run the QR code inside the web browser, but the camera section of this isn't compatible. So let's just go ahead and do it on an Android simulator anyways. So you can see here that the QR code screen has popped up on my Android simulator successfully. And I think I forgot to apply the margin styles here. So I'm just going to go back to my QR code page. And yeah, I forgot to apply the styles to the view. So go ahead and inside of that view, add the styles for the button. And then go back to your screen, and the Go to Scanner button should have a little bit of space now between the QR code and the button. So this screen is working just fine. So your next step is going to actually be taking a screenshot of your QR code here. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to your settings here on the right side, and you're going to want to go to the camera section. And you can see here, there's a wall and table setting that you can insert your own custom images. Go ahead and take that picture of your QR code and save it so that you can load it here inside of your Android camera. What you can do is when you're using a camera on your Android phone, you can actually walk around a room using the arrow keys and the Alt key, and you can actually take a look at that QR code like you're scanning it. So I've already done this here. I'll link a guide below if you're having trouble taking care of this. Next, I'm going to go to the scanner page. You're going to see that while using the app, only this time or deny as my options for Expo Go trying to record or take pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and say only this time. And now you're going to see my camera turn on. And you can see that I'm already pointing at the wall. You can see the scan, the QR code text that I inserted. and you can see the QR code on the wall. I actually had to pause this right here because my camera was already pointing at the QR code, so it scanned almost immediately. So once I speed the video back up, you can see that it pops up the name and the number and the scan again button. So this is working as expected. So it's actually scanning the QR code that I created on the other page. Now, if you're running this on your cell phone, you can have your Android simulator on the screen, show the QR code, and then you can just scan it with your cell phone. Nice and easy. Okay, guys, that's it for inserting a QR code into your React Native project. It's very simple, especially if you're using Expo. Thanks for tuning back in, guys. If you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe, share the video, or if you're feeling generous, buy me a coffee.